तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May the divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Oh, peace, peace, peace.
The meaning of the bhajan that I am going to sing in English. O devotee, welcome Hari to the court temple of your mind. Offer the lotus of your heart. Make your mind flower for worship. Fill your heart with the divine vision. Kiss the holy feet by being an anklet. Offer the tears of love to the holy feet. Welcome Hari to the core temple of your mind. स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी. हरि आए तेरे मन मंदिर में, हरि आए तेरे मन मंदिर में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी. फूल बना ले मन को तेरा, फूल बना ले मन को तेरा, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी. स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी. हरि आए तेरे मन मंदिर में, हरि आए तेरे मन मंदिर में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी. हृदय कमल से पूजन कर ले, हृदय कमल से पूजन कर को भर ले, चरण चूम ले, नूपुर होकर 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 पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी। प्रेम की आंसू भेंट चढ़ा ले, प्रेम के आंसू भेंट चढ़ा ले, भक्ति प्रेम अनुराग बढ़ा ले, भक्ति प्रेम अनुराग बढ़ा ले, तन मन दे दे उन चरणों पर, तन मन दे दे उन चरणों पर, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी। स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी।
I am reading from the book Meditation and Spiritual Life by Swami Kripamayananda ji Maharaj. Some practical hints on meditative life. Find rest in meditation. Never say, "Oh, my mind is so very restless. How is it possible for me to meditate?" Just because your mind is so very restless, you must meditate all the more. A perfectly calm mind does not need so much meditation. People sometimes try to find rest in doing nothing, in just being lazy, but with their minds working, imagining all sorts of garbage things. Real meditation is the best means of getting rest, relaxation, and poise. Many people think they can get relaxation in all sorts of diversions and dirty amusements. Meditation and japa are natural ways of resting and filling the mind with new freshness. Through them, the mind flows in a natural way towards the source of all energy, namely the self. And then the mind and the body are refilled with this energy. All strength, all power, all poise come from the divine. And meditation is a direct means of tapping this source. If any day you feel too disturbed or tired to meditate, you just sit down for a few minutes and pray intensely to the divine. Thou art purity, thou fill me with purity. Thou art energy, thou fill me with energy. Thou art strength, thou fill me with strength. This kind of prayer will calm the mind The whole secret of poise, of calmness, of true human efficiency is within us. Yet people seek it outside. If after a whole day's hard labor, you feel sleepy at night and naturally find it impossible to meditate, just take the divine name, thinking of the Lord for a short time, and then go to sleep and get up refreshed in body and mind. A short nap often clears all fatigue. But do not make this an excuse for dozing off during meditation. Meditation in the regular way should be done after your sleep. Here is it.
Now a short period of meditation. Good morning, friends. Today's topic is the healing power of silence. Are we sick that we seek of healing? Yes, body is never 100% well in any being. Something or other is going on in body. So we need healing. Keeping silent will heal our body? No. There is sickness, physical sickness, our body gets sick when some disorder becomes very prominent. There is psychophysical sickness, the mind creating disturbance in the body. And there is mental sickness. Mind is so disturbed that the person is not well mentally. There is a fourth kind of sickness. It is called the worldly sickness, or in Sanskrit, bhava roga. The person is almost well on all these three aspects, but he's suffering from bhava roga. The world outside is creating mental disturbance and disturbance in his personality and not finding joy in life. That is the bhava roga. This worldly sickness, the doctors can treat the first three types of sickness. Who will treat and heal the fourth kind of sickness that we often get from the world through our interaction with the world, by our reaction to the actions of the world upon us. So for that we have to find ourselves, the way to heal. And that healing comes from silence. The world creates disturbance. And disturbance in such a degree it becomes a disease. So it is said the doctor for this healing of this disease is Atma or God. Vaidya Narayano Hari. Narayana is the Vaidya, Hari Narayana is the Vaidya for this worldly sickness, for this sickness Bhavaroga. So that Bhavaroga is a great sickness. We may be fit otherwise in all physical, mental and all levels. But if world disturbs us, it becomes that other health doesn't help much. So we have to seek the wellness from the worldly disease of the world. And we all know the disease of the world is a product of our own problem, our own unspiritual problem, our own problem how to deal with the world. It is not with the world. The problem in that world is very different and very aggressive to me. The world is similarly, it throws actions on all. Some bear it very calmly, some are so fine in this very world. For me, it seems to be a great burden. My colleague is very bad, this boss is so rude, all these things. It doesn't happen in my case alone, it's in everybody's case. Some find it out how to heal, how to adjust, how to live with all the problems of the world. And that is the way they find the healing in the illness of the world. When we feel the disturbance by the world, that means that disturbance is created more by us than by the other. Others do whatever they do in the case of everyone. That's how the world is. We also create disturbance in others' life, not only others create. If we are unspiritual, we also make others sick. We also become a part of the Bhavaroga. And the way to go out of Bhavaroga is we have to find a real doctor in God. The God who resides in our heart, as the beautiful song was sung, that God resides in your heart. Worship Him. Welcome Him in your heart. Offer lotus flower of your heart to the Lord in your mind. That finds us, Lord, the abode of peace and health, and that will cure all your disease. That is, be spiritually alert and spiritually active. Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, Arjuna, you have to fight. And to fight, before fighting, you have to be cured. Cured? Arjuna was brave, he was very healthy. Vigata Jwara, you have fever of ignorance, fever of attachment, fever of fear. You have to get rid of that, then only you can fight well. That Yudhyasva Vigata Jwara. Why Sri Krishna said, be free from fever and then fight? So this fever of worldliness is already there. So without that, he cannot fight well. The way he has to fight, it was a very difficult battle for Arjuna, seeing his own kinsmen sitting on the side of injustice and he representing justice, and to fight against his own people. It was very, very, very hard against his own people. So Jwara was that attachment. Jwara was forgetting the purpose of the life of a Kshatriya to establish the dharma or the nyaya or the law, rule of law, justice. That for that any sacrifice is not big for that. Sacrifice of his own self or sacrifice for anyone who are on the side of injustice. So that was the Jwara Arjuna was having. So, Yudhyasva Vigata Jwara, fight. Arjuna's thing we can take in our life, this fighting, is performing our duties. To that, be free from disease of Jwara, of our, this, as I said, attachment. So, this silence has the power to heal from worldly disease. So, what are the worldly disease? As I said, first is attachment. This creates a lot of problem in our life, that something I am attached to and I cannot get rid of that. or I feel so close to my heart that I cannot give up or give freedom to that person, or I feel I will not be happy if I lose that thing, or I think that it will be very difficult if my position or situation is changed, or of my status, of my condition, if it alters, that will be terrible to think. And in the world, everything changes. This is another jara or fever we have, not understanding the changing nature of the world. Whatever you hold dear, those are all will be changed. The situations, the time, your physical status, your mental status, relationship, everything changes, and until and unless we are able to accept the changes the world goes through, we will not be free from disease. We will not attain that silence that we seek. Always we seek silence. When we get tired, what we do? We want to keep quiet. Sometimes I'm too disturbed. Don't disturb me. I want to be silent. That's how we seek silence. That is our very nature. Shanto ayam atma. Our very nature of ourself is peace. Shanta, silence. That's what the Vedas proclaim. Shanto ayam atma. Sometimes we go for walk alone and we feel healed. We feel all things gone. But this attachment often causes very great disturbance in our mind. Another thing that worldly disease is very much prominent, it becomes in us, is maladjustment. This maladjustment, misadjustment with the thing, that also creates a lot of problem in our life. We are not able to adjust with our own people, with our own nearest people, and something friction comes, something we start seeing defect, all defect in the person we love most, and started doubting them. And we started projecting something that may not be there. And we say, no, I know that person is behaving that way, his love has reduced, he has become very much disinterested in me. Something like that, we start creating those thoughts, and misadjustment starts. And after that misadjustment comes anger, there comes yelling to each other. Now this yelling and shouting, they create great noise, not only at the time when there was yelling and shouting, but after that, when we are separated, we go to other room. No, I cannot stand with you. I will go. You go for a walk. And in the walk, if we are not able to remove that shouting and seeing only defect of other person, then all the shout goes with you on the walk. You thought you will be healed in the silence of nature. You become more agitated because you project that. Now how will I react? What will I say? I should retort. And all this, all the way you were making that noise that you heard in your house or in your room, that was traveling with you, and you come magnified with that noise. And then you yell more, and there's more friction. The problem is not the other person. Problem is myself. I myself am the problem of how to deal, how to adjust with this problem, how to seek the solution of the problem in myself. What should I do in this situation? I never thought that way. I only thought about the defect and the wrong things the other person has done. Other person works according to his or her nature. Nature leads that. But what is my role? If I am spiritual, I will seek all the solutions of all the problems in myself. How can I handle this situation? How can I make the things better? And there is solution for every problem. There is spiritual solution for every problem in household, in office, everywhere. So we have to seek the spiritual problem by seeking that silence. The silence is disturbed, the worldly disease became very prominent with another thing called hatred. Somehow hatred is also throwing some blame on other persons. You just say that person's, everything that person is or does is bad, wrong, ill. That person is sick. You think that other person is full of bhavaroga. And as it is, we are all full of bhavaroga. When you think that way, you become more filled with bhavaroga than that person. And you feel the noise, friction, clutter, unrest. that becomes a disease in your mind, disease within you. So hatred, they say, is the great power. Sometimes it was said that when this Jaya and Vijay were asked to be born as a human being, they said, Lord, we are your constant companion and we want to be with you. Yes, you can return to me after 7 lives. 7 lives in the world is too much for us. We cannot be separated from you so long a time. Then Lord said, if you are devoted to God, it will take 7 lives. But you become our enemy, you can come back in 3 lives. What is that? If you are good and devoted. Because this anger, hatred makes more attention to the person that we want to forget. More you hate, more you are attached to the person that you don't want to think of. This hatred is negatively very powerful cause of noise, spiritual sickness. This hatred has to go. And the problem of hatred is again finding defects and seeing, magnifying the problems and whatever shortcoming of other is there in too much with our relationship. And you just don't like to see that person's face, don't like to hear about that person. You have deep hatred from that person. And hatred doesn't go but not just by not seeing. It remains in the heart, in the thought, in the memory and comes back again and again even without seeing the person. The solution is to know that there is divine in other person. What I might have thought about other person may not be right. Why we always think that what I think is absolutely correct? That is another problem that we have. What I understand about the other person, that is absolutely right. I know that person better than he or she knows himself or herself. Like that idea we often create because of our ego, that our wrong understanding. And our ego is so strong that we say, I know you, who you are and what you do. Without knowing that, you impose an imagination upon him and you impose that upon that personality of that person. And you think you are 100% right. So these are all the reason for our having hatred for other, which is very on a spiritual thing by which we can never get the silence that we seek in life. And with this type of thing comes frustration in life. You see, why God made me like that? Why me? Everything is upon me. My boss is bad, my colleagues are bad, my relations are not good. All things upon me. Why God made me like this? Tremendous frustration upon yourself. Nothing is wrong about you or your relations or colleagues or your boss. Everything is normal in this world. People are different, might be there is little bit difference from your colleagues to other colleagues. But others find colleagues good because they know how to deal with them. They don't find so much defect. They can adjust with others. That's why Swami Madhavananda said to one novice that you don't have to practice only 4 yogas, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Not only 4 yogas are sufficient in the Ramakrishna order when you become a monk. You have to practice 5th yoga with equal tenacity and equal strength, and that is adjustment yoga. You have to adjust with all other people in the ashram. In the ashram, so much importance given to adjustment yoga. How is the adjustment with the world? So many varieties of people. In the ashram, in monastery, they all have come with one wish to realize God, to have to lead a better life, to be a truthful, happy, serving life. But still you have to adjust with the varieties of the mind that are there. They all have not become perfect. They have come to become perfect. So how much more we have to learn this adjustment yoga in our life to heal ourselves. So that is there. Sometimes comes, with the frustration comes hopelessness and guilt feeling. I am good for nothing. I am bad. Now all the blames you start putting on yourself, that is as bad as having hatred towards others. And that is totally wrong again, that I am hopeless, I am only wrongdoer. So this cause of this is misunderstanding, ignorance, not knowing the reality, not finding the truth. And cause of that is ego. Too much dependence on your own being. Ego, I am, whatever I think is right, whatever I speak is right, like that thing it comes. And with that, this ego comes from the idea that I am the doer of everything. I am responsible for everything. Sri Krishna, that's why I said, Nimitta matram bhava sabya sachin. How can I kill my relatives and my teachers and my grandsire? So Sri Krishna said, no, you are not going to kill. You just be an instrument. You are not the doer for the first thing. You are not the doer at all. Don't think that you are doer. You are nimitra. You are just an agent. It is done by me. Maye vaite nihata purvamevam. I have already killed. Without you also none of these will remain. It is meant to be battle and finish. So, nimitta matram bhava sabyasachi. O sabyasachi, you have controlled your sleep. You are so expert in shooting arrow with both hands equally. Sabyasachi means that. You are expert, but be nimitta. Think that you are not the doer. Doer is God. Perform your duty. Vigata jvara. And then yudhyasva, like that. Be freed from vigata jvara means be freed from ego that I am the doer. I know everything. I can judge the right thing. I am right. That type of idea. Have the thought that I think that, but maybe I am wrong. I hope I am wrong. That often we say in many things. And in many cases that hope becomes correct. We are wrong. But we have to admit that we are wrong in judging others. So don't judge others to become silence, to have the healing power of silence. What is yudhyasva? In Arjuna's case, real battle, real war, real fight. In our case, performing our duty in the world. So many things we have to do. That is what is meant by yudhyasva vigata jvara. So we have to perform the duty and practice the silence. So we have to work and get retired. Then we find peace in sleep. In deep sleep, we find peace. We have to be very active and we have to experience silence. They go together. The world, universe, so much of thing going on. Actions, the planets are revolving. The action going on in this world, in the whole universe. So much of action going on all the time. And yet, there is silence. Silence of space. All the planets that emerge, silence of the space will always be there. So, silence and activity, they go together. Let us focus on the silence. There's so much clutter in our mind, all disturbance is there. In this very mind, there is the space, there is the chance of being silent. We have to find that silence in our own mind. And there is, for our work also, to experience this thing, we should have action and reflection. So reflection is also very important. We often don't give importance to the part of reflection. Only work and work and work. Without reflection, action will not be proper. We have to think where I am doing wrong. Why? How can I be better? So more we detach from the action and think about it, about myself, go deeper, and then I find, oh, that was a mistake on my part. We should be brave enough to accept our own mistake and in dealing with the world. Also be brave to express, oh, I was wrong. I yelled upon you. I wrong. I shouted. Why can't we see? When we can't say that, we are weak. When we are brave enough, we can say, I was wrong. And that power to say that comes from reflection, by thinking and seeing the situation with an equal eye, not always putting all the blame on other persons. When we think the thing, what was wrong, we will find that we also do many wrong. So there is outward silence and inward silence. Outward silence, we know that we find peace in the house, and we want to go to some place where there is peace. We go for, after the city's lot of work and stress on our nerves, we always seek to go to some outing, some in the summertime, springtime, we go to for some lakes, nice places for just a silent place and quite natural beauty that suits us. We know that outward silence. But there is inward silence. The silence has to be found inside. Outward silence with all inward noise will have very little impact on it. But situations have impact on the mind. It will have something, but it won't have the real effect that it should be. So inward silence, if there is, then outward silence will be enjoyed more. So there is verbal silence and mental silence. Verbal silence, we don't make noise, we don't talk, it is silent. But that is little less compared to mental silence. When mind becomes quiet, mind is not thinking, there is no noise in the mind. So mind has become quiet. That is more important healer of our all worldly disease. The silence of thoughts, silence of feelings, silence of desires. When those become less in our mind, then we experience the mental silence. The mental silence, the real silence, is a symbol of contentment and happiness. Real happiness is in the silence of the mind. And silence can come, happiness can come only when we are silent, this contentment and happiness. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, Ashantasya kuta sukham. You want to be happy? If we are noisy in your mind, how will you experience happiness? The happiness comes with the silence of the mind. Ashantasya kuta sukham. Sri Ramakrishna says the story that bees, when they fly, there is noise. And that noise, until they find something that they are contented with, until they find honey, that noise will be there. They will flying from flower to flower. But once the bees, they sit on a flower and they get the honey and start sucking the honey from the flower, nectar from the flower. Then there is no buzzing, silence has come. Because contentment has come, desire has been fulfilled, no more desire left for the time being. So there is silence. There is no buzzing sound of the bee when nectar has been found in the flower and the bee starts sipping that nectar. Sri Ramakrishna gives another very common example of feast time. There have been big people invited and a feast was there. Like in India how the feasts are there. And people start serving one item after another. And people are sitting and talking, those who are eating, and others are serving. And someone saying that, oh, there is something lost, bring that, bring puri, bring rice, bring that idli, and all that noise going on, and they are talking all that. Slowly food are coming one after another, and they are eating. Now they are feeling their stomach, belly is feeling. And more joy is there. After that talking becomes less. Desiring, wanting becomes less. Not only wanting, bring that will not be there. There's no more need for puri, no more need for halwa. That sound goes. Even the talking with others, that sound also becomes less. Because you are becoming quiet, your desires are fulfilled, no more desires left, you are experiencing the silence. Finally Sri Ramakrishna says, then what sound left? Finally it becomes yogurt. And then you eat the yogurt, lick the yogurt with your fingers, and there is sound, soup, only that. No noise, louder noise. After that is finished, then you go home with lot of eating and you take rest. No more talking, no more noise, and nice siesta. So all sound ceases when desires are done. So this silence is a sign or symbol of contentment. That when we are contented with life, with our things, then only we can be mentally silent in our mind, that we experience silence. our symbol of God, that Om. Om represents 4 stages, Chaturmatra. And 4 stages are represented by 3 letters, A, U and M. In Sanskrit letters, represented in English as A, U and M, but they are actually A, U and M. So A represents the waking state. There are 4 stages of life, only 3 letters. A represents the waking state. U represents dream state, when we are dreaming. M represents the deep sleep state, when there is no activity actually, but that is also a stage of life we experience. The deep sleep also we experience, the mind is suspended there. So A and Ma. What is the 4th state? Beyond deep sleep, even that is not there. What is that then? What that cannot be expressed. Whatever is that state, but there is a 4th state, Chaturtham iti manyate. That state is called Turiya state. That state is called the state of real silence, the real knowledge, real bliss. That is the state of Satchidananda, reaching our own true self. This Om also says about the Chaturmatra, and that's why it is said, Shanto ayam atma. You reach your own self. That is the real peace. Shant Atma is Shanta. As Janaka had said to, the teacher said to Janaka, Janakam abhayo vai praptosi. So you have achieved fearlessness. That is one way of expressing the reality. Achieve fearlessness of anything. Now you are not afraid of anything. You are fearless. So not worried. Worries come all together. Not worried, not afraid of anything, scared of anything. So that is the sign of attaining the supreme reality. Another is attaining this Shanta, true peace. And that is so much healing of all our worldly, all disease. Once we experience this Atman, then all we are fully and finally healed. Then how much we are healed? It will never be ill by this worldly disease. Bhavaroga will not be there. Until we reach that state, Bhavaroga will somehow or other, it will disturb us, but we have to replenish that with the medicine. We have to try to get rid of this Jvara, this Bhavaroga. How to get rid of this Bhavaroga? How to achieve that silence? How to achieve the state when we are beyond even of the Om, in that final state of pure consciousness. So we have to reach there step by step. So we can be, the first one we can try to be, make a time to be only with yourself. Nothing other is there, just yourself. And how can that happen? That the best way is walk alone. In the good weather, just don't have anyone, nothing to talk. Just you walk alone, then you slowly, the thing in your mind will go. But slowly you will you'll find that nothing is there, your mind is working and you are alone. Slowly other connections will be loosened off and you are alone. You just see the nature, the cloud, the trees, the birds, the sky, and you find you are soothed, come back, you are refreshed, you are peaceful. All the problems have been solved. That's why when two husband and wife were fighting and went to a holy man and said, we often quarrel so much, can you give us some prescription, some mantra that will make us quiet and happy in our life? We all both are good. That they are feeling, not too much of fault finding. Somehow some altercation, some words coming, and then quarrel started. And then the holy man said, okay, I'll find there is no mantra, but there is some technique for that. What is technique? There is he brought some water in a glass bottle, and he said, liquid he brought, and said, whenever you are fighting, quarreling, they're shouting, then one of you have to take that in the mouth, that liquid, already holy liquid. And until that person stops shouting, you have to keep, another person has to keep that in the mouth. And really it happened when also something, they started fighting, and immediately other one brought and put in his own mouth or her own mouth. And then that person was shouting, after some time that stopped shouting, after a few minutes. And then after that you have to throw that liquid. And gradually in 1 month, their quarrel stopped. They were not quarreling at all. Then water was not needed. One person was, the saying also became less and less, and there was no now blaming other was stopped totally. Then they went grateful to that holy man and said, "You gave us great this thing, whatever was that mantra or whatever." The holy man said, "It was not the mantra, it was pure water that I had given. Only when I asked you one person to stop, that only one person was shouting. One person cannot shout. Only they are for shouting, yelling also 2 persons are needed. Only when other was quiet, that person cannot speak, other is spouse. Then automatically it becomes less and less, now you are quiet." So the silence can happen when we have restraint upon our speech. One is that we often think other is wrong, and then for someone saying we retort. So can we control that? That's very important. Other thing that is important is watching the activity of the mind. Sitting quietly and nothing, just you watch what the mind is thinking. Oh, it thought that, it happened there, so much work to do, go tomorrow to office, and that person said this to me. All will come in the mind first. After sitting for some more time, all those will be loose and gone. And those thoughts are not more disturbing, they are not as noisy. And there is gradually peace coming just by watching the minds and its thoughts. You are doing nothing. You are not doing japam, doing nothing. You are not, this is not very spiritual background needed for that. Any person can do. Just watch the mind, how it is doing, without adding any more reaction to it. Watching the mind will make the mind calm. Why? Mind also, like the universe, with its planets and the space, has these both things. There is noise, there are thoughts, desires, there are feelings, and also there is silence. So when we don't give importance to the feelings and thoughts, then the silence, automatically the silence of the mind will come and will be with us. So that way also we can find the silence of our heart, of our mind. Then sometimes we want to reflect on what is truth, who I am, what wrong did I do, what wrong that person did. Like that, trying to reflect on our actions, our speech, all those things. When we start reflecting, then also we find great wisdom in ourselves that no, that was wrong for me to think that way. That is not the solution. So that also makes our mind silent, reflecting. And as I said, watching the nature, that also creates silence in our soothes our nerves and makes our minds silent. Just be yourself in meditation, forget the rest of the world. That is very important. These thoughts of others, words or actions, or any wrong, we feel the wrongdoing by others, all they come to our mind because of our attachment, our inability to keep the things out of our mind which are not the real thing that we need to do. We are not able to control our mind. To be ourselves in meditation and forget the rest of the world. So after seeing the mind's work for some time, when the mind has become calmer, then try to focus the mind to your own being inside, or to the thought of some divine, some joyful, some being. So first the calming of the mind, then we're giving it a spiritual term. So without spirituality, to have the permanent calmness of the mind, silence of the mind to achieve is difficult. So thinking of God after the mind calmed, just as the song was saying, the worshipper, the devotee, the person, now you think of God in your mind, bring God in your mind and worship Him. That was the song being said. So think of the deity that you like, or the light, divine light in your heart. Let's think of the bliss and joy and the peace and the silence in your heart for some time. That becomes spiritual meditation, and that is the best healer of our mind. Or if you cannot think of some light or something formless, think of the form of God. form of God is the condensed form of that formless light. And that is so beautiful. Every part of the God is so holy, attractive, beautiful, and peace generating. That creates silence. But just be with the form of God, bright, shining, blissful, that form. Just be with your Ishta for the time being. That is the great healer of our worldly disease by creating the silence. Or think of God in that way, meditation on God, or the think of God, that beautiful being. Or if meditation is difficult, repeat God's name. God's name is also very holy and peace-generating vibration. It is very holy vibration that comes in repeating God's name, even mentally. So repeat God's name. That will also heal your noise in your mind and generate the healing silence. So spiritual life is a healthy life where our sickness is healed up by the experience of silence or inner calmness by being established in equanimity. It brings equanimity. You can treat the world with right eye, right vision. Otherwise our vision is distorted about the world. We all put our own thoughts upon this whole world, and that's why we see the thing that is in our mind. If our mind is silent, pure, happy, we will impose that happiness and silence and beauty in the world, and we will enjoy the world. The very person that you are angry and you are hatred other person, lies that person? How does it happen? Because that person himself is happy and peaceful. So we have to generate that peace and happiness and silence within ourselves. The healing power of spiritual silence can be found not only through meditation on formless God or God with form, but through unselfish action. Just you try to do good to others without any thought of return to yourself. Just you love helping others. Just you love doing something good for others without any ego or attachment or any expectation from that. So that's a great healer of our work, and we can experience that silence of our true nature, of the Atma. Also, it can be done through the reflective analysis of seen and seer, always being thinking of Drig Drishya Viveka. What is seen is Drishya. What sees is my true self. The seer, to always analyze that also will bring that silence into our experience, and that will be the healing to the disease of the world. And we need to have that as whatever way we like to do, by being alone with ourselves and enjoying alone. Sometimes we are so much habituated with being with others that we are afraid if we are alone even for some time. One person came and said, Swamiji, I cannot really live alone. I have to be with some person, have to be with me. So that is bondage, that is dependence, that is not freedom. We have to have freedom. And such person cannot really experience the beauty of silence, healing power of silence, the joy of silence. So we have to be alone sometimes, and that is so joyful. One Swami said, if you are not happy being alone, so that means that when we are alone, we have company of one person, that's ourselves. When you are not happy with your own company alone, that means your company is not joy giving to others also. Think that way. You won't make others also happy. So you have to be first happy with yourself. Then when you go and try to make happy with your presence or with your visit, then you can think, I make him happy, I want to visit him, that person will feel happy. But when you are not happy with your own self by being alone, then how will you make others happy? So we have to find the happiness in our own presence, in being ourselves. So that is the way we can find the silence, by being into the action and reflection. That is very important. Not that we all have to shut in the cave and be alone and enjoy the joy of silence. Not that. That is not the ideal of Ramakrishna Vivekananda, Holy Mother. The ideal is to be with the society, to work with it, as Swami Vivekananda says, to find the silence of cave in the busy streets of New York. That is the goal. Work with the whole thing, whole nature. Go through the waves, and yet you swim across that. In the skill of your swimming power, you surf in that waves, big waves. How you surf? Because you are trained, you have attained that skill. We have to have that skill of finding silence and finding a joy to deal with this world which seems to be so difficult. And there is the way, and the way is the spirituality. And it is the practical way to live in the world with all joy that we experience. That is, that we can always have that, always be with the world and find time to be yourself. That is we call the time for upasana, time for being, the time for prayer or meditation. Have some time, it's very important to have that. And that will generate so much of power of silence inside that you work and with all conflict, opinion differing, someone not accepting you, all you can accept the things that are opposing to you, adverse to you, insulting to you. So much strength you have, it will not come to at all. In some serial you'll find somebody shooting arrow. The person is so strong that arrow is shooting and hitting his body. Nothing happening to that. You will find in Ramayana, in Mahabharata, that he got so much strength, our Duryodhana, that Bhima is hitting him with Gada. But he had so much strength in the body by the blessing of his mother, Kunti, by the blessing of Gandhari, that he was not having any pain, no effect. He was immune to all sorts of hitting. We have to generate that immunity through our spiritual practice, through our reflection, meditation, japam, and through our prayers, that we can deal with this world and we can find joy in dealing with this world. And there is really a great joy because this world is divine. We are not able to see the divinity because we have not practiced the spirituality enough. When we grow spiritually strong, we become so silent, established in equanimity, we will find divinity everywhere, joy everywhere, everything there is happiness, everywhere there is the divine, and our life, human life, will be blessed. Jivan Mukti is the goal of human life, said Shankara. We have to remember this on this happy Easter day, when people are happy that because of resurrection of Jesus, who is considered as Son of God or God Himself. Resurrection of Jesus is not that Jesus just came from life. Resurrection of Jesus into our heart. We have to be resurrected to God. We have to be resurrected in our thought of God, in our spirituality, in our awareness of true self. That is true celebration of Easter, that I am awake and God is always awake. He is always there. He is never dead. But are we awake to God? That is the question, and that for that we have to strive, and for that we have to get rid of the worldliness of so much final frustration and all the problems of this jwara of this world. We have to be freed from that through this finding the way of this practice by yuddha, fight, and then we enjoy the world and make our human life successful and contented, experiencing the healing power of silence that never leaves us. Thank you.
On behalf of the Vedanta Society of Toronto, I would like to thank all of you for attending the service today. Now for some announcements of our upcoming events. Our Friday scripture class will be held upstairs at 7:30 p.m. The subject of discussion will be Uddhava Gita. Our next Sunday lecture will be on thoughts on Bhagavad Gita. Buddha Jayanti will be celebrated on the 15th of May at 11 a.m. You are invited to attend these events with your family and friends. At the end of the service, those who wish to continue their spiritual discussion may do so upstairs in the dining hall area, leaving the prayer hall free for those who wish to contemplate and meditate on the message that we just heard. Please join us upstairs for prasad. Thank you.
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Mahamai Ki Jai. Jai Swami Ji Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Buddha Ki Jai. Jai Isha Musha Ki Jai. Sarvastaratu Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarvasad Buddhimapnotu Sarvas Sarvatra Nandatu. Hari Om Tat Sat. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. Oh, peace, peace, peace be unto us.